Voter's Diary is sponsored by Samsung. Samsung, inspire the world, create the future.
And this is the Election Bureau. Welcome to the Voter's Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Now, they can make or break a political party. In some cases, their attempts at winning power, when unsuccessful, can lead to their expulsion from political parties. Now, I'm talking about independent parliamentary candidates. Today's edition of the Voter's Diary, we are looking at their impact on the elections, whether parliamentary or presidential. Stay with us. We'll be right back. So welcome back to the Voter's Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. Our focus today is on independent parliamentary candidates. We are looking at a number of them that have popped up across various constituencies across the nation. Our focus today will be on the Ashanti region. Who am I going to have this discussion with? Selorm Adonoo heads our features and articles department here at Citi TV and Citi FM. Selorm, welcome.
Thank you.
And then Kojo Akoto Boateng heads our new media team here at Citi FM and Citi TV. Kojo, welcome.
Thank you, Vivian. How are you?
I'm well. How are you too? How was your weekend?
The weekend was
traveling.
Traveling?
You travel?
No, you don't even travel.
Oh, no.
Oh, you didn't travel?
No.
Hey, that God must be angry.
No.
Well, there's something bigger to play.
I saw a bit of the LPG shortage issues. For example, in Adonoo, I saw a long queue. I saw other LPG stations that were closed around the Laboratory area as well. So I didn't travel much, but these were some of my
Cape Coast or
observations.
Takoradi to look at the impact of the shortage there. But viewers, we want you to be part of this conversation. What are your thoughts around independent parliamentary candidates? Send us a message via Facebook or Twitter. Remember to add the hashtag Voters Diary to catch our attention. Also, you can send us a message via WhatsApp on the numbers currently on your screen. So guys, welcome again to the Voters Diary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today we want to talk about independent parliamentary candidates. They appear to be worrying, some major candidates across the, the country and also parties in general. But before I pick your comments, I want to go to Nana Akufo-Addo and the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia. They have been making some statements around independent parliamentary candidates. And for candidates in the NPP who decide to go independent, the implications for them.
Me kwa me tumi kwa bembo menye yi me hia woni a ebeboa me e wo mase bedwam ho e ho kofoni ho abeboa wa amra na betosi ti me hia mema wo mase bedwam ho a woni be foa me sise no so enti no me ko ho a me hia dia me do betumi akọ independent bia ntumi mo ame independent candidate bia etumi moane obia na no ka so NPP ni a independent na onye NPP ni papa onye NPP ni papa o NPP ni papa onye independent titru masmasi en from bana me no ndi komo a wan ba no na chese uni ebu ma me utumi ni me nya adwuma onipa uni ebu ma me no me tumi ni nya adwuma dimesamo obia gen enya no baako onipa betumi ni na ya adwuma eni sule a odia me chen ono na betumi ni na ya adwuma Miss Marjman Prempe, so go independent candidate, no launch in the Jubilee House, also on my. The Nipa say, and I'm going to say, Juma, and Basso, yeah, to man on that, and to man in
The Vice President is in the Ashanti Region on a 4-day tour ahead of the December polls. Chiefs at Formena say they are unhappy with developments in the area where the incumbent Member of Parliament, Andrews Amwakwesiama, is contesting as an independent parliamentary candidate.
Abaya the ball bano ya di botechino and nadia was said you no obeyi obino na and obi abeyi no o jai MPP no akọ contact no higher Panam say Akoye Mususam Amma Yani Formena constituency yasi. And near Penisam Suche and Yasua Udi Musio Befieno. On I did to a sequenti amount. It is not Kaya Pese and Kawanoa Sabunya Hajin say Sadia Warrior or Bejai. The Ayatian say Wasakofa. Form.
Dr. Baumia, in response, said the party does not recognize an independent parliamentary candidate.
Independent candidates here, Nananumaka, no, yen supporters are yen candidate, official candidate of the MPP. Sana yejina ho yen supporting any independent candidate or constituency.
The Vice President, addressing a Deborah of chiefs and people of New Edubiase, urged them to vote for the New Patriotic Party to retain power. The Vice President later commissioned a rice production and processing center under the One District, One Factory initiative at Brekete in New Edubiase. He commissioned a 6-unit classroom block at Chiaboso and a chips compound at Adonoo. Dr. Baumia led the entourage to commission a 6-unit classroom block and a dormitory at the Bodrisango Senior High School.
So earlier, President Akufo-Addo was speaking there on the issue of independent parliamentary candidates, and later the Vice President, Dr. Baumia, also making his remarks on the issue of independent parliamentary candidates, basically saying we would not support those who decide to go independent. Independent candidates, they've been popping around all the time, especially after primaries and for election years. But you know what I was thinking about when we were playing the report? You know, usually the party in power is the one who sees, correct me if I'm wrong, the independent candidates the most. Those in opposition, you know, don't see as much. You know, I don't know whether I'm right, but that's my observation with this independent candidate thing.
Yes, well, I think you're largely right, not entirely wrong. But the most, you qualified it by the most, and that makes it very accurate. Because in many instances, opposition parties have also had a similar, situation. So, for example, as we speak, the NDC has a number of such situations. So, in Ashaman, for example, we understand there's a gentleman there who is trying to go independent, or who is gone independent, actually. In Garu, the former member of parliament, Dominic Azuma Azimbe, also is going independent. So, these are NDC people, they are in opposition. But the situation is affecting them as well. But indeed, the situation is more pronounced with the ruling parties, because that is where the spoils are. That is where the kitty is. That is where the bigger cake is to share. And that is where people see opportunities to do things. That is where they have expression in government. And so they feel that is the time. And when you look at a lot of the things that people who go independent talk about, they talk about the fact that, one, the people haven't performed. Number two, that the parties have protected them. Number three, that the parties have disallowed other people to contest them. And when you look at a lot of the independent candidates, this particular, scenario has run through a lot of them, which makes it, which makes the whole enterprise of democracy, if you like, a laughing stock. Because what is democracy if the people are willing to contest, people are supporting somebody, but you sit somewhere and decide, not by consensus, with the other people. You just decide that we are protecting this person. And I launched straight into Osechi Mensah Bonsu, because he has been the advocate of protecting members of parliament. And I don't get his argument that because of the so-called attrition rate in inexperienced members of parliament, the debate or quality of debate in parliament is weak. I disagree strongly. We have had younger members of parliament or first-time members of parliament who have done amazingly well. Oppong Nkrumah is a first-time member of parliament. When he's on his feet, you can't tell me that he wages a weak argument. Adonoo of the NDC is a first-time member of parliament. You can't tell me when he's on his feet he wages, a weaker argument. I don't want to mention the names of very old people in parliament who haven't even spoken before. So isn't that here nor there to say that the fact that older people are leaving parliament means that the quality of debate is not. It's parliament's duty and everybody's duty to ensure that we get quality people in parliament. And so if you're in parliament for 4, 5, 6 terms and your people are not seeing value for money, they are not seeing the reason why they took you to parliament, there's absolutely no reason why they should keep you there. So it is no argument for me to say that keeping those people in parliament will better the quality of the debate. You are elected as a representative, so you must represent your people well in terms of what they need and the reason why you are there, not to necessarily beautify arguments or
but
debates.
why will parties go out of their way to protect certain persons, in certain cases at the detriment of the results of the elections, be it presidential, because sometimes the parliamentary elections has an effect on the presidential, be it parliamentary or presidential. We've seen cases where they protected certain people and they've lost the elections. What goes into taking that decision that, I'm going to protect Kojo to stand?
Well, I'll say this with a bit of caution, but if you look at the various seats where these things happen, they also usually end up being party strongholds. We've seen some of the swing constituencies, but most of them are party strongholds. So the thing is, whoever wins the parliamentary seat automatically wins
whoever wins the
primaries wins the general elections and go to parliament. So sometimes when people within the party contest, or they are not allowed to contest, or they contest and things don't go their way, they feel that it's not right. And they're also MPP people or NDC people, and they could have done work to get them to parliament. So sometimes they also want to give it a shot. So he mentioned Swami. If you go to Asokore, Eric Osei will tell you he's been in the party, was an executive assembly member, he's worked and people know him, and the people are telling him to go. And he believes that if we decided that, and I'm saying we because the political parties decided that, well, we won't let anybody contest my part. That is Patricia Appiagyei, and the people say I should go. That's what he's saying. Then you give it a shot because it's an MPP stronghold and it could go to parliament. So different things contribute to this, but you see a trend where it happens in the strongholds of the parties. So the aggrieved parties believe that we have the numbers here, so if you also push, we could get in there. Now, usually when they push, they get some votes, and then the incumbent or the main party candidate loses some votes. So you see a lot more votes for presidential in those cases, and then you see fewer votes, because sometimes when they are campaigning, they also campaign for the presidential candidates and campaign for themselves for parliament. So it's really an interesting thing. If you look at the trend since 1996, in fact, you can even go to 1992, where we had 2 independent candidates in the person of Hawa Yakubu of Boko Central, and then John Achulivo of Navrongo Central. They were independent candidates in the 1992 parliament, right? Now you move from there to 96, and we didn't get an independent candidate in the parliament then. In the year 2000, 4 independent candidates were in parliament. 2004, 1. 2008, 4. And then 2012, 3. 2016, no independent. But these are the total number of independent candidates that have run. Apologies to viewers. We couldn't visualize this to show to them on the
so these
TV
are actually, you're talking about persons who went independent and succeeded, because the independent numbers are bigger, but those who succeeded and went to parliament,
now,
right?
In the year 2000, in the year 1996, there were 200 parliamentary seats, right? 53 people contested as independent candidates across the country.
And these 53, were they coming out from political parties, or they decided not to join any political party?
There were people who, in some cases, came from political parties. There were people who wanted to run purely as independent candidates. So 53 ran in 1996, and the percentage of independent candidates when it comes to the number of seats was quite big, right? Now you go to the year 2000, still 200 seats. Number of independent candidates increased to 58, and this time 4-1. You go to the year 2004, 230 seats. Number of independent candidates was 125. That's the biggest we've ever recorded in the country.
125.
125. Only one.
Oh, the only one still.
Yes, only one.
Okay.
And 2008, 230 seats. We had 92 independent candidates running. 4-1. And then 2012, 275 seats. 115 independent candidates ran for positions in the constituencies. 3-1. And then 2016, 275 seats, 74 ran. We didn't get any independent candidates in Parliament in 2016. If you want to know the names of the people...
If you can give us some of the key persons so that we start looking at some persons who went independent from various political parties and succeeded in going independent and getting seats.
Well, I'll just give you a general overview of the independent candidates who actually won. We can just then break it down into people who had moved from political parties too. So if you check the year 2000, Rashid Bawa was an independent candidate. He won. The party that held the seat he won was the NDC. Right. Anlo constituency, independent candidate James Victor Beho, he won. The party that held that seat was NDC. Clan M. Kwesisowu. So that's the year 2000 for you, right? There were some other independent candidates, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq for Salaga.
Okay. And
there was Joseph Akudbila for Garo Timpani. So those were the 4 independent candidates who managed to get to Parliament. In the year 2004, there was only one independent candidate, right? That was the Bunkurugu Yoyo, Joseph Labik. He won. Now, Boniface Abubakar Sadiq's independent candidature became an MPP seat in the year 2004. So he ran for NPP in Salaga. So that independent seat then became a political seat, right? That's the year 2004. Now, if you go to the year 2008, there were 4 independent candidates. Joseph Osoyusu Bekwai. Does the name ring a bell?
Yes, and he himself today, there's an independent, what he did and came in.
And he's a big man in Parliament.
Now he's suffering a similar fate by another person.
Yes. There was also Bosome Freho, Nanaya Eduardo Forikragu, also ran independent candidate. He was NPP, and then he ran independent candidate in that particular year. Now, Seth Ejeba also ran in Nkoko, independent candidate. Shaba, you remember? Shaba, there was a song titled Shaba.
Yes, Shaba. Shaba.
Seth Ejeba.
Yes, Seth Ejeba.
Shaba, is it Bujuban thing or which?
No.
Oh, you mean local Shaba?
Song yes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That seat was an NPP seat. Kwabena Edusa, NPP. Then Seth Ejeba won that particular seat. And then you go to, so that basically gives us, there was the Woolensey where Alhaji Sani Idi also won. That was an NPP seat and Alhaji Sani Idi took it. So that's a bit of the independent candidates. Have we done 2012? Let's go through 2012. 2012, Joseph Osei-Usu's independent candidate or independent seat in Bekwai then became an NPP candidature. So seat became an NPP seat, right? Now, Nana Yao, Edward Ofori-Kragu of Bosome Freho, he lost to Kojo Frimpong. So Kojo Frimpong of the NPP became the candidate for NPP, the Bosome Freho. So that independent seat also converted into a purely political seat. Seth Ejeba's seat became a Kwachi Dafor seat in Nkoko. So you see how all those independent seats, and it's instructive to note that these seats were all becoming NPP seats. They were not going to the NDC or the other parties. And then Tamale North, Al-Hassan Damani, independent from Abubakar Sumani of the NDC. And then Alhaji Sani, this seat in Woolensey came to George Maban of the NDC in Woolensey. So the NDC gained a seat from an independent in Woolensey. So that gives us a picture of how the independent race has been, basically. And then 2016, we don't have any independent candidates in Parliament. All the independent seats from the previous year have been converted.
So the last time we saw anybody going independent and winning a seat at the table proper was 2012, from what you're telling us.
Yes, if you look at it, 2000 we had 4 independent seats in Parliament. 2008 we had 4 independent seats in Parliament. 2012 we had 3, and 2004 we had 1. 96-0, 2016-0.
Okay, so is it that the importance or power or impact of this independent candidature thing is losing its relevance, especially with 2016, none of them making inroads? Because 2016 there were quite a number of agitations as well, people trying to go, but is it losing its relevance based on the 2016 figures from Parliament?
Not quite. I think maybe it's dependent on the candidates themselves. Maybe they've not sold themselves properly, or maybe the parties at the local levels, the parties have been very entrenched and they've been resolute in what they intend to do. That once you leave the party and you want to contest as an independent candidate, we are not giving you the support. You know, independent candidates really can be very destructive to the party. So to the party, it's not a good thing. But whether it's a good thing to the electorate or not is another discussion, because it's an opportunity given the electorate, if you like, to express themselves in a manner they will want, especially when they feel that their preferred candidate has not been treated well. We saw that in Bekwa with Jose Usu, who today is being contested as well. We are seeing that in Asokore against the former party organizer who feels that he was prevented from contesting Patricia PJ. We've seen that in many instances. So when it happens that way, the aggrieved people in the constituency rally around that candidate. Sometimes they force him to run, and when he runs, and there are many, they make him win. But sometimes they are distracted, because look at the NDC, for example, in the Laura constituency, where Anthony Abefa-Kabo today is the MP. Bidzidin was the NDC candidate. Before that, I think Abu Samson was the MP. And Bidzidin at the time chaired the party's electoral committee or something. So there was this whole allegation about, you know, because he knew he wanted to run for that seat, he tried to do a few workings around that. These are allegations, you know, and in the last minute, he threw his hat into the ring, or he threw his ring. I mean, he got into the contest. I mean, that's just so I know myself in the trouble. He got into the contest, and then he won against the sitting MP also. The sitting MP was very aggrieved. He went independent. So what that seat has been an NDC seat for a while, even though not every time. So what happened? Abefa-Kabo won with 8,704 votes. Bidzidin came in with 7,476, just about, or less than, or a little over 1,000 votes. Abu Samson, who went independent from the NDC, got 5,651 votes. So look at this. With even if he had half of the 5,000 that Abu Samson won or got, Bidzidin would have been in Parliament today. And this Abu Samson guy was from the NDC stock. So it essentially meant that he got a lot of the 5,000 votes he garnered from the NDC stock. You can't argue that the entire 5,600 votes came from the NDC. By a good majority of these 5,600 people, you can argue safely that are from the NDC stock. So that is how parties lose seats. So had it not been this, NDC would have had an additional seat in Parliament, and Bidzidin today would have been in Parliament. I understand today they have resolved their matters.
They have. I think the last time Mahama visited that constituency.
So that is what the parties don't want, because it distracts their activity. Now, when you look at what may be happening in other places, and indeed it happens a lot of the time in strongholds. So you have Asokore, you have Swami, you have Formena, you have a number of other safe seats for the MPP with this. So if the candidates in those areas are very strong enough to even divide or split the vote, it could be problematic for the sitting for the
whoever
party.
has been chosen at the end
For the
of
party.
day.
That is why Adonoo has been saying that, he wants 4 more. He knows that people will give him 4 more. But he cannot work with people that are not part of his team. He wants to work with people who are part of his team. So if they'll give him 4 more, they should also give the 4 more to the MPP candidate
But
not the independent.
The concerns of these independent candidates, for example, if you take the case of the Formena, guy who raised issues around the elections,
the register.
You go to Eastern Region, which has been resolved. The lady, Amase and Co. Those concerns they raise, aren't they genuine for the party to look into them and then allow them to sail through?
They are very genuine concerns, but sometimes the parties do resolve them. Sometimes the parties are blinded, or they are blinded by some arrogance of a kind, thinking that they are able to do it on their own. It's happening in the NDC, it's happening in the MPP. We've seen that many times. What the parties don't do is to learn from their past experiences. Sometimes they want to keep a so-called big name there who, per the standards of the people they are representing, are not performing. They want to sacrifice the interest of the larger number of people, the grassroots people who make up the party really, for the interest of a so-called bigwig. And when the people are aggrieved, they go and then show the bigwig that we put you there so we can take you off if you want to. That is what the parties must learn. And so, like I stated, this whole idea about protecting people from contesting, that's fine. But if it is done by consensus, everybody agrees. There's a similar thing happening in the employment minister's constituency, where the BOT Bernard Odrotechi also is making a lot of waves there. And if it doesn't take it, if it doesn't play it well, the young man will defeat him, and that will be more disgraceful. It is a democracy. If you want to win, make sure you do your job well, do your homework well, work well in parliament, bring what the people want. If it's time to contest, play your cards well, and then contest. In any case, by virtue of the fact that you are an incumbent MP, it gives you a lot of advantages over usually the other candidates who are now getting into the race. If you don't, even look at even Kole Klote here, in 2016, MPP won the presidential, but NDC won the parliamentary. People have attributed that largely to the fact that, is it Ninote?
And then Philip
Addison. Philip Addison, Ninote went independent and took away some MPP votes, and so, made it easy for Zaneto to win. Had it not been so, it's argued that Zaneto wouldn't have been in parliament. Rather, Philip Addison would have been in parliament. So this is how this particular thing works against the party. The fact that somebody is popular at the national level doesn't necessarily mean that the person is popular at the local level, and so we should force the person on the people. It is the undoing of the parties, and to my amazement, they never get to learn from it. They keep repeating it. It will happen this year, and it's happening. Next election, it will happen. Next election, it will happen. It will always keep happening.
But the expulsions, the threat of expulsion against these persons who take the action, is that the way to go? And will that, put a tab on those who decide that, listen, you can't do this to me, I'm going to contest anyway?
Well, I don't think that's the way to go. But if you look at the structures and the things we've seen over the past few months, when the disagreements come, the parties usually would form committees and have one of the older party members, let's say in this case, in the constituency, is a patron of the constituency, to resolve the matters.
Yeah.
In certain cases, the issues are resolved. In other cases, the issues are not resolved. And for me, if you belong to a team and you have an issue and you're unable to resolve it, and you want to go your own way, and you are not going to help the team reach their goal, what good are you to the team?
No, if a team is, in cases where you've made your case and the team, like Selorm is saying, they want to protect somebody, or they don't want to listen to you, or they want to protect the what word would I even use? The party, or the,
But sometimes it doesn't look good on the political parties when their big wigs in parliament lose out in the primaries. Let me give you an example. Osechi Mensah-Bonsu, the Honorable MP for Swami.
Yes.
He's Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, Majority Leader.
Yeah.
He was protected, so he contested on the post. Imagine he had contested and lost. The effect it would have on the image of the party. So I think sometimes in politics, the politicians also take a lot of things into consideration.
Win or lose here. We've seen, President Mahama lost, and we also, it happens.
Yes, it's protecting big names. I mean, I'm not saying if Osechi Mensah hadn't been protected, I'm sure he would disagree that he's been protected, actually.
Yeah.
I'm
in
sure.
Fact,
I don't know whether he would have won or lost, but I think it would have been good to him, and he would have felt better if he had contested and he won. He would have sent a strong message to the same gentleman who wanted to contest him 4 years ago, where we hear about Bagwin and Co. to the
all troop there to
campaign
support,
for him. That even shows, a certain level of competence he demonstrates in the House, to the extent that his opposite people even want him to remain in the House. Now, if he had lost, he wouldn't have been the first big wig of the party to lose. Abraham Osei Edu was in 2012 or so, lost to Arina Toshi. It was a big thing, but we had Arina Toshi in Parliament. I think what it does is that it strengthens the faith the people have in themselves and in their tongues as people who put the leaders there. If we keep perpetuating this thing about keeping certain powerful people or certain popular people at the national level at the place against the will of the people, it makes the belief in the democracy at the grassroots wane. The people put the people there. So the people the MPs must continue to be accountable to their people, to the extent that when the people call you for a town hall meeting and you come and they tell you that this is what we hear the executive wants to do, the executive will bring it to the House. We put you there. We don't want this. This is what we want. We don't want you to oppose this or want you to support this. When you go, this is what we want you to do. I think it will make the electorate feel more powerful, and they will have more belief in the partisan or the electoral democracy we are running. It's not about forcing candidates on everybody. It's neither here nor there. I don't buy it at all.
I'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go into the Ashanti region proper. About 6 constituencies are seeing independent candidates, and all of them are very prominent constituencies. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Voters Diary. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. I'm here with Selorm Adonoo as well as Kojo Akoto Boateng. We're looking at independent parliamentary candidates and their impact on elections, whether general, parliamentary, what have you. And we're just talking about how or why parties, turn a blind eye on the concerns in some cases of some candidates, allow them to go, independent and protect others. And also, in the case of the MPP, they've been warned that if you go independent, you'll be expelled, and sacked from the party.
Yes, Vivian. So the part about being expelled from the party is actually in the MPP constitution. So Article 9 of that constitution is headed forfeiture of membership. It reads, a member of the party who stands as an independent candidate against the officially elected member of the party, or who joins or declares his or her support for another political party or for an independent candidate when the party has sponsored a candidate in a general or by-election, automatically forfeits his or her membership of the party. So that's clear in the MPP, in the MPP constitution. But you asked a question earlier, whether it's useful or not. Yes, this is the law. So if you fall foul of it, you must be dealt with. So it's good to be expelled. But again, it is a question of numbers. So it's a question of numbers. Yeah. So after the person has been expelled and you are in opposition, and the person has the numbers in a constituency, and the person wants to join your side in parliament, will you say you will not let him join? You will let him join. So there's something called amnesty. They will grant the person amnesty, and the person makes progress.
Which is like what we see in the case of Shaba and Co.
So it only happens when you don't win. Being expelled from the party, you only feel it when you don't win. But when you don't win, nobody cares about you. You go your way. But if you win and you have the numbers and you are in parliament and it's a slim majority, and you say you want to sit by the side of the party, your original party, they won't say no. They will want you to join. That's the same thing that happened to Sete Jeba, what's the name? Jose Wusu, and the other gentleman from they were 3 from Ashanti region. So what happened was, now they had to, so they were given amnesty, and now in the next election, Joe Osei-Wusu contested on the ticket of the party. Sir J. Bang tried to contest on the ticket of the party, but he lost the primaries. So that he couldn't go back again and say he will be independent. So that was it for him. So the point is, if you succeed, the party will find a way of taking you back. Unless what you did was so bad. But if it is just this and it's a game of numbers, imagine a slim majority or a slim majority in parliament, and you have an independent candidate who wants to sit by your side or sit with your side, and you tell him no, it can't happen. They will take them. So it only happens, you feel it only when it is, when you lose. When you lose, nobody cares about you, so you feel the punishment. But indeed, the punishment is there, and it's good that they are talking about it now so that you know where you stand. And indeed, all of them saying that they will run as independent candidates, they know this. They know that by virtue of their declaration of running independent means that they are out of the party. But when you talk to them, they'll tell you, yes, we will talk about that later. Because they know when they win, now they have a good bargaining chip, and the parties will take them back.
Yeah, and the likes of the MP of the Formena part has said it as well.
One,
But his case is very interesting because in Parliament proper, his party had written to the leadership to take him out of Parliament as well. And even the minority who earlier tried to help started saying he's a limping man because the case really looks dire. That's a test on our parliamentary laws, isn't it?
In fact, of our constitution, actually, because the Constitution Article 97 talks about removal of a member of Parliament. 97G. So a member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament. G, if he leaves the party of which he was a member at the time of his election to Parliament to join another party or seeks to remain in Parliament as an independent member. This provision has been given a lot of interpretations, whether by virtue of his declaration of going independent, now he loses the membership of the party, and that is what the MPP constitution says, and whether by virtue of that, the vehicle that brought him to Parliament, he has deserted the vehicle. People say that he didn't leave, but the party expelled him. Others to have argued that, however he leaves doesn't matter. Once he's exited,
it's an exit.
It's an exit. So there are, and then others to have said that, when you look at it, he will be in Parliament. He will continue to be in Parliament as an MPP member of Parliament. But the independent thing he's seeking to do is against the future. And so it is only when you come to the future that you can have that against him. I mean, we await what the speaker's ruling on this will be. And I'll not be surprised if this will go to the Supreme Court for an interpretation, even though people think that this has no ambiguity or whatsoever, so it's as clear as it is. But indeed, it is a test case for of the democracy we have and what we have in Parliament as well.
Okay, I want us to go to Formena to take a clip from there. Kojo, you are in the Ashanti region. You give us an idea of this Formena constituency, its strength, in terms of the MPP story and all that when we come back. But let's go quickly to Formena to look at that interesting case with the Formena constituency and its incumbent MP going independent.
Aside from the 1992 election that the National Democratic Congress won, the New Patriotic Party has held the seat since 1996, qualifying it to be referred to as a stronghold of the MPP. NDC's Nana Odamekusi won the seat in 1992, whereas the MPP's Kwesi Afrifa won the seat 3 consecutive times in 1996, 2000, and 2004. He was, however, unable to finish his last term as he died in 2006, leading to a by-election. The MPP's Nana Bonsra won the by-election. He again contested in 2008 general elections and won. Ahead of the 2012 general elections, Atabua for Daniel Kingsley won the MPP primaries and subsequently won the election. A legal practitioner, Andrew Amokresiama, won in the MPP's 2015 primaries and became the party's candidate in 2016 and won. As the 2020 general election approaches, several controversies have emerged. The incumbent MPP MP, Andrew Amokresiama, withdrew from the party's primaries after he reportedly accused the constituency and regional executives of scheming against him. Philip Oforia-Asante, went unopposed and was subsequently declared as the party's parliamentary candidate. The incumbent MP has since filed to contest as an independent candidate. There have been several calls by the party's leadership for him to back down on his decision, but he says he's focused on retaining the seat. Due to his insistence, the party has written to Parliament to request for his removal from the House since he went there on the party's ticket. Andrew Amokwesiama tells Citi News he's very much aware of the repercussions of his actions, but he's confident of winning the seat convincingly.
I just want to tell the nation that I am winning almost every polling station in the constituency. And just mark it. Almost every polling station we are having, I'm winning. I'm very confident. I'm winning and winning and winning. I think that time I said it. I wish that you people come here on the election day. Probably if you are able to announce it to the nation, the real results of Formena. I want it to be the first results to be announced to the nation. I'm winning.
Why do you seem so confident?
Oh, sir, it's the people. Election is about the people. What the people tells you, what you see about the people. According to the people, I'm not even speaking for myself. According to I've served and served them well. Respectfully, honorably, I've served them well. And that's why they want me to continue. It's not my humble self, but about the people, right? I'm a sitting member of Parliament. I'm not oblivious of all the consequences that is associated with the step I'm taking. But I'm taking that steps. That tells you that I know what I'm doing. I'm winning.
Can you highlight some of the things you've done for the people?
Almost every community, there's something that you can pinpoint that.
So that's the Formena constituency. Interesting developments happening there.
Yeah.
But you're from the Ashanti region. What's special about this constituency?
The question is, where is Formena? Formena is on your way to Cape Coast from the Ashanti region, right? So you get to Anyankwanta, you branch Bekwai, Adonoo, Formena, then you join the Asin areas. Then you get to Kennedy Japan's constituency. Unlike Adonoo-Asokore, that is KT Amon's place, Formena has been an NPP seat since 1996. And it's been a strong NPP seat for that matter. In 96, Adonoo-Asokore was for NDC, but NPP has been winning Formena since then. Now, in 2004, they had 80%, NPP had 80% of the vote count parliamentary.
Wow.
And 2016, 79.1%.
Is this the same guy, this gentleman?
No,
another.
No. So it's quite a safe seat for the NPP. If you check presidential as well, they vote, they don't do skirt and blouse. So Nana Akufo-Addo got 79.1% presidential. The MP also got 79.1%. So they vote right for the NPP. Now, the MP, he went to KNUST, he has a Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Arts, he has a Master of Science degree, he has a diploma from the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. And I'll tell you something, the similarities between this person, his name is Andrew Esiama Amwako, and the similarities between the person contesting Jose Usu in Bekwai.
Yeah.
They are all KNUST trained. They all have surveying backgrounds. They all have law backgrounds.
Hey.
Professionally. So they seem to know what they are doing, I think, when it comes to some of these issues. Now, they went for the primaries, and according to him, the voter register or the voter book, there was a problem with it. He lost, he complained, he didn't get a resolution, he went to court, I think. And then he decided that he'll run independent. So the reason why, and I said this earlier, usually when people want to go independent, it's in a stronghold, which they know that at all costs, if they do their work well, they may win. And this is an incumbent MP who ran on the ticket of the NPP.
But what are his chances? Is he that popular to be able to pull without a political party backing, for that matter,
that's a good question to ask. If you look at what has happened in the constituency, it's one of the areas that has had issues with Galamsey as well. In fact, I remember a story that suggested that the DC and some other person had assaulted the chief for visiting a Galamsey site, which was a community mining area at the height of the Stop Galamsey fight. So some of the people there were unhappy with how the chief was treated. Some of the people there were unhappy with how the NPP was running the anti-Galamsey fight, because at a point they felt that they were taking mining sites off the people for their cronies. Okay. So there have been some of these issues. Yeah. So if I'm to make any inferences with the treatment that Andrew Esiama Mwako, the Honorable MP for the area, has had, if he stands up and tries to weave a story very well, he may get some of these aggrieved people not to even vote for the NPP person, but to vote for him. Okay. So there are too many things at play in that particular constituency, but the sure thing is that it's an NPP safe seat, a strong NPP seat, and should he even take some votes out and the voting trend of Formena remains same and is able to take away some of the votes, the NPP person running may not lose out. He may win, but with a smaller margin. But if he plays his cards well, pushes his message across very well, and is able to do some wonders, he may retain that particular seat and be in Parliament as an independent. Okay, but the variables are a bit too many and a bit too confusing sometimes.
To have an incumbent member of Parliament, sense defeat, for which reason he didn't want to run for the seat again, and so he didn't contest again, he rather went to court, etc., tells a lot. One, going to court is a great thing. But what I thought was the issue that an incumbent member of Parliament, with all the influence he wields, what I thought was the issue that he could not deal with. The issue or the division between himself and the party structure was so deep to the extent that the party chairman actually openly said that he will vote against the MP in the primaries, and that if the MP bought a vote for 5,000, he, the chairman, was willing to pay 15,000 cedis to one delegate to buy votes. That was how bad it was. And the claim was that he was lackadaisical in his response to the party in terms of the issues to be resolved. The point really I'm making is that this is the reason why when people get into MP positions, they try and fortify themselves in those roles by ensuring that their favorites get to keep positions in the constituency, so that a lot of their own people make up the electoral college so they can win. Yeah. In this case, this is a classic case of a man who did not have the party in the constituency. He had himself and his supporters. But the party people are the guys who determine a lot of things. They can decide, or they have a lot to say about you winning or not, because they form the party structure, like we saw. Yeah. So the manipulation of the album, which was his allegation, and a number of things people do prior to election date or the voting day itself. People's election is won at the polling center, that's true. But a lot of other things happen on the way to the polling date. So if you are not vigilant, you would have lost the election days or weeks or months before the election. I'm sure that was what happened to him. He did not have the party structure. He was not in good terms with the party officers or executives. And so the result we have is what has become of him.
And Ashanti Regional Secretary of the NPP, Sampine, he's on record as saying that he was uncooperative when they were trying to resolve the issues in Formena. So now it's very clear and evident. And I think in my lifetime, this is the first time I've seen a political party write to Parliament that, look, kick out this person because he's no longer one of us. Yes. Right. So he has a huge task ahead of him. Yeah. He has a huge task. Stop Galamsey fight made people unhappy with the government. The community mining initiatives have been rolled out. There are still people who feel they lost their livelihoods and wanted to use the elections to make a point. But with all these things happening and with some of the things we've seen, it will be a very difficult fight. And I think this area should be added to the hotspots to watch. Hotspots when it comes to violence, when it comes to agitations. This area, Bekwai, they are all supposed to be declared as hotspots so that we watch them closely. Because on election day, there will be a bit of a tension and a bit of heat in the place.
Okay. Asokore.
You want us to go to Asokore? Let's go to Bekwai. It's closer to Formena.
Okay. So let's go to Bekwai. If you insist that you want to pass through before.
Yeah, I think it's closer to.
Okay, so tell us about this constituency. So we look at the matters coming out.
The current MP for Bekwai is the Honorable Joe Sewusu. who is a deputy speaker of parliament, right?
Yeah.
Now, Joe Wise, right? That's what he's called. He went to parliament in 2008 as an independent candidate. Then 2012, contested on a ticket of the NPP. 2016, ticket of the NPP. He's running again for a third time on the ticket of the NPP.
2012 independent.
No,
his first was
independent.
Okay, that was
2008, and then 2012 NPP, 2016 NPP. Now, that seat is also an MPP seat. If you look at the trends, since 96, NPP has won Bekwai, 96, NPP won with 79%, 2000, 87%, 2004, 89%, 2008, when Joe Wise won Parliament, 85%. That was the presidential, right? Now, parliamentary 2008, NPP got 18%. So Joe Wise took everything from the NPP. And it's also interesting to note that parliamentary 2008, NDC got 3.8%. So because there were two people with NPP blood, they went all out there to campaign. The parliamentary candidate really lost out, even though the presidential candidate got 11.5%. Then 2012, NPP parliamentary 85%, presidential 85%, but parliamentary was 85.2%, presidential was 85.4%. And 2016, presidential 89.3%, parliamentary lower 86.1%. So now he's running, he went unopposed, and another person who has legal training, who is also a member of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors, just like the Formena MP, says no. He's also going to run as an independent candidate. He's also a son of the land. He's paid his dues. He had a chance, so he's going to take it on and move, because if the NPP is winning 86% of the votes, it's a stronghold, right? If you push and you push right, and it's seen that in 2008, Joe Wise was able to run as an independent candidate. NPP got about 13%, NDC got 3.8%. So there's been a precedent. So that's one of the things fueling his hope that he should run. And if you've seen a bit of the videos from the tours he's done, he seems to get quite a huge number of people in the area following him.
But is that good enough to, you know, I've seen a bit of some offset in that area, because Joe Wise is pretty strong candidate still as well.
No, he's a strong candidate. I think at the time that Joe Wise also came on the scene, the gentleman he contested, I think he was a deputy minister for fisheries. I mean, he was a deputy minister in Kufuor's government. I'm sure he too was quite a strong candidate. But you see, the point I was making earlier, if the people decide, you know, there's very little that the system can do about it. I'm not sure if the people of Bekwai have decided, as they did in the case of Joe Wise. Yeah. But if the people have decided, there's very little that people can do. There's very little, what's the name? The institution or the system can do, or Joe Wise himself can do. And he finds himself in a very difficult situation, because 16 years ago or so, he was the guy. So he had to he resigned from DVLA to focus on the seat, and he won quite handsomely with about 79% of the vote. We don't know what or how popular this gentleman is. We don't know how strong he is on the ground. Of course, we've picked up signals that he is strong, but in the end, a lot will happen on that day. I don't know what structures Joe Wise is putting in place, etc. But I think it's a difficult thing for him, because, you know, of course, I heard him say that if that it's not easy to run independent and go to parliament, because he has done it before, and he knows what he felt from his people.
His party,
so maybe they will shun you a little bit. They will see you as a traitor, a whole lot. But here we are today. His first deputy speaker of parliament, and that's huge. Yeah. So maybe this gentleman, lawyer Akosi Amofajima, is also thinking the same way.
In fact, his law practice, his office is in Adabraka.
You know. So the other thing too is that in the case of Joe Wise, he was made to contest, just that he lost by a very slim margin. He lost in a way he didn't understand.
Yeah.
So the youth and the town folks and the constituency folks rallied behind him that he should go independent. In this case, they disqualified the young man.
Yeah.
They disqualified the lawyer. They are both lawyers. They disqualified lawyer Kusi Amofajiman from running. Why do you disqualify him? I mean, in things like this, the party uses some means, fair or unfair, to disqualify the people. And if the people feel that they've been disqualified in a manner that is not fair, they go independent. And in the end, it is the party that suffers. Nobody really wants this noise about the party, etc. Though it may be good for the electorate, it may be good for citizen power or constituent power, the parties really do not want that. And it's not a good testament for the candidate himself that because you were prevented or somebody was prevented from contesting you, the person contested and then won, which meant that the person indeed was more popular than you. That is why you were preventing him using all sorts of means from getting him to contest. In fact, reasons for his disqualification are not clear, but what's important is that those reasons should have been clearer and fair as much as possible so that everybody who loses will understand that indeed I lost it fairly.
Okay, let me take a few messages. Don says, in the 1992 elections, 2 independent candidates won their seats. Wako Central, Hawa Yakubo, and Kintampo Gladys Abena. And then John Achu Lewo joined the 1992 parliament through a by-election in 1995 following the death of Godfred Abulo, NDC MP for Navronko. Now, good afternoon to you. You say to you for this wonderful show. My contributions to your program today is to ask when you people will pay a visit to my constituency, that is Wale Wale constituency, and this is coming from Humble Lion inside Nabari. Okay, so we've been there already, so pretty soon you see something from us. Well, guys, our time's up on the independent parliamentary candidates. We've done 2 conferences today. Tomorrow, we hope to continue with Asokore and other and other key conferences also in the Ashanti region. And then later, we move to other regions and other conferences across the country. But thank you so much for watching us. Selorm Adonoo, head of features and articles here at Citi FM, was with me, as well as Kojo Akoto Boateng, head of new media here at Citi FM and Citi TV. My name is Vivian Kai Lokko. This show, we have a repeat at 10 p.m. tonight, so you can make time to watch as well. But we'll see you tomorrow again at 3. Goodbye.
Voter's Diary is sponsored by Samsung. Samsung, inspire the world, create the future.